Got enough going on. World Series, right? Dusty Baker, college football. How about those games, particularly the one, Death Valley, LSU, Alabama? We'll talk about that. Georgia looks unbeatable. And the NFL, and what the hell happened to the Buffalo Bills? They go in and lose at MetLife to the Jets. And how about Josh Allen? We'll talk about that and more coming up in just a moment with Sean Salisbury. And what a weekend in H-Town. Sean Salisbury was at the stadium on Saturday to see the Astros clinch it, the big parade. I mean, Sean, you got enough going on in your neck of the woods, buddy?
Yeah, but now the baseball's over. What next? We got the Rockets who are struggling and the Texans. So we are going to enjoy this probably for, until spring training again. So, yeah, a lot going on, and congratulations to the Astros on what started out what they expected and ended exactly the way they had planned it from spring training. They were that good.
Well, I don't know of anyone, maybe outside of Philadelphia, but I mean, you take away the Phillies fans, and I think even a couple of days removed, they'll even appreciate, Dusty Baker and what he's done. You know what, to me, says it all, Sean, is how really the entire country, the sports fans in America, and again, other than Phillies fans, pretty much they were all rooting for Dusty Baker. That tells you the type of life that he's lived.
Yeah, it's interesting, Grant, that about 88 or 85% of the country wanted the Astros to get beat because they're still butthurt and tripping over 2017. Yet there's, 5 guys remaining from that team on the trash can problem. This team has no cheating. There's nothing that was done right. Yet 100%, it seemed like, loved themselves some Dusty Baker and wanted him to do it. So that's the catch-22 is they wanted the Astros to lose, but they wanted Dusty to win a World Series, and Dusty won out in tremendous fashion, and I couldn't be happier. Going into the season, he was my number one reason wanting the Astros to win it, and coming out of it, I couldn't be happier for a guy who's handled himself the same year after year, day after day, decade after decade, and proud to have him here in Houston. Hopefully they get a new contract done and Dusty wants to come back. What a fitting end in a season for a 73-year-old who's acted the same since he was about 30, and I love him. He's the best ever.
He is the best. Congratulations to Dusty and the Astros. Anybody in the country, in your mind, can anyone beat Georgia?
Yes. Will they? I don't think so, Grant. I know when people say, well, yeah, but Tennessee picked the wrong time to have a bad game. Well, a lot of that had to do with where they were and who they're playing. Tennessee has nothing to apologize for. The vitriol people put, like fans or people on the internet, towards their team when they get beat by a game is just horseshit and embarrassing. And most of those type of fans who rip the kids when they go out there and play and get beat are the same cowards that wouldn't put their ass on the line. I understand opinion, but from death threats and all the stuff that they do, when it's not Tennessee, I'm talking about anywhere. It's just when I see that stuff, they would have got beat by better. It drives me nuts because they got beat by a really good team. They did, and those kids tried as hard as they can. They've had one hell of a season, and I don't understand when, and it's a small minority of a fan base who, from the threats and things they put on kids, but we see it all the time in sports, and people take it a little too serious. But Georgia takes their football serious, and they put it on Tennessee. Tennessee can beat a lot of teams in this country. I think that maybe Ohio State on their best day plays in a game, but I don't know anybody. If TCU played them, no disrespect, I don't see it because they do everything so well. And they've got the most underrated great player in America on their team. I'm serious, in Stetson Bennett. I said it last year, I'll say it again. All the big name, bigger, the measurables get more pub. All Stetson Bennett does is keep winning, put up numbers, and leads his team to victory. So, yeah, I was proud of Tennessee in the way they've played this year, and they still got a long way to go. And they can still win a national title. But Georgia, it's going through Athens for you to get to a title, and if you don't play your best football, they will find a way to win. They're physical, and physical beat finesse in this one.
Hey, I was critical of Brian Kelly earlier in the season. He's proved me wrong. After the start that they had down at LSU, what a win. What an incredible atmosphere, a scene, overtime, going for 2. And, I mean, I just got to tip my hat to LSU. What an amazing job. What an
Oh, my
amazing
gosh.
job.
Grant, think about when the season started like a month in. We're thinking, okay, he's got to get his players. They're a long way away.
Yep.
And I'll be damned. They get Daniels is starting to play well. They're physical. They're starting to get their perimeter receivers involved. And earlier in the week last week, I go on a show in New Orleans every single week, and we were discussing what it would take for them to beat Alabama. And they applied what it needed to. The quarterback had to be a playmaker. You had to get a few turnovers, and you got a couple down there in the red zone, at least the one in the end zone from Bryce Young, and match them play for play. And they did. And then the balls to go for it in the end. We've seen that a couple times against Alabama, matching them play for play. Brian Kelly, and now imagine when he gets the type of players he's going to get here. He had some really good players at Notre Dame. It's going to be different even here at LSU. I'm sure that's as bigger the bigger win as he's had in his career. Honestly, it has to be, right, Grant? Alabama,
absolutely. I don't think beating Alabama, beating Nick Saban, that environment, Saturday night. I mean, yes, absolutely.
First-year head coach there, even with all history and incredible epic, history that goes along with Notre Dame, the most historical franchise in college sports. But here at LSU, I would have never told you in the first month of the season LSU was going to be a top 10 team by the time this season ended. And here they are again with a chance now, a legitimate chance to find their way at least competing for an SEC championship. And then who knows what happens. Still a long way to go, but damn, was that impressive win in front of a crowd that looked like they were on it the entire time.
Sean, I want to go back to Monday night. I thought Josh Allen was very sloppy in the fourth quarter at home against the Green Bays. He made some mistakes that to me were very uncharacteristic of the year that he's having. He was very sloppy yesterday with the football. Some of his reads left me scratching my head. What did you see in that game? What's going on with the Bills and Josh Allen?
I think they're going to be fine. But, Grant, it's 2 games in a row now. I've seen him throw the ball. Is it 2 or 2 out of the last 3? I've seen him throw the ball in interceptions that were not even close. I mean, it's as if something blank happened, and he's like, he's throwing it right to guys where there's nobody even. You saw the one again, rolling to his right, throws it right to. Instead of throwing it away, he's done that about 4 times now in the last couple of weeks. Now, listen, we know he's spectacular, but when you run into the Chiefs or good teams, and the Jets are proving to be a good team, and when you go on the road, that's a tough place to play this year, and you made more mistakes than them. I don't know. He's had some lapses physically and mentally or wherever he's thrown it the last couple of weeks that are not conducive to winning a Super Bowl. And he cannot afford to do that. And I know all the pressure that's on him. But what I'm seeing is a guy who's forcing balls, and sometimes when you're so skilled, you think you can get away with anything on the field, and most of the time he can because he's really good. He's got to get back to the basics of just playing smart football and letting the talent just be natural and organic as opposed to forcing things, because as good as his arm is, he doesn't need to force them. He's made some poor decisions the last couple of weeks that have put his team in a bind.
Well, and, he talks about his elbow injury that happened on that final play. He's not really making too much out of it, but you played quarterback in the NFL. That's something to monitor, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. Well, I can tell you this. No Josh Allen, no shot. I can say that about a lot. Say it in Kansas City and say it in Philadelphia as well with their guys. But, this guy is such a big part of what they do. Injury or not, I get the elbow. And then you also got to be smarter on where you throw the football depending on when it happened. I love the guy, and I think he's a freak show. But even freak shows can get themselves in trouble, aliens, by playing on the wrong planet. And there's been a couple plays that's put him in a bind. They're the better team than the Jets, but right now the Jets don't think so, as witnessed by their performance. And they're not sitting around waiting for a team that's supposed to win come in. Robert Saleh's got them going well. Josh Allen's got to be smarter in those situations, injured or not.
Yeah, you think about the Jets and both the Jets and the Giants. I mean, those are just amazing stories this year. But you talk about Robert Saleh, and they got off to a slow start, and everyone was on Zach Wilson's case. You know what I love about the Jets? They can run the football, Sean. They can run the football. They maintain ball possession. They now have a very nice back end on their defense. They're a dangerous looking team here in the second half of the season.
They sure are. The one factor for them, I mean, the playing hard happens, but they're smart. It seems like they're well coached and taken to the coaching because they're in position to give himself a chance. It's going to come down to that quarterback. We just talked about Josh Allen making smart decisions, of Zach Wilson not loving his arm too much.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, Grant?
Yep.
He loves it so much, and he knows and trusts it so much it can get you into trouble. If I'm Josh Allen, make those throws into tight windows when necessary, but the truth is he should probably treat it as if he does not have a howitzer for an arm, because that will help him become more accurate, make good decisions. They've got some playmakers now. He does not have to. Matter of fact, when he tries to do it all himself, he gets himself in trouble. I think he's got an enormous talent, but when his accuracy goes up, and if and when it does, that even makes them more dangerous. And he is going to be a key. Can't turn it over. And he did a good job of playing smart football. And you keep a team close, and they start to believe they can win, and they do. And the Jets are better than just some, Harry Hatchet-ass operation. Robert Saleh's got them going on.
All right, I want to talk about the Tennessee-Kansas City game. And there was a part in that game that I'm still trying to digest. If Tennessee kicks a field goal, if they make a field goal in that fourth quarter, they're probably going to win the game based on the way the game was going. They've got a 1st and 10 at the Kansas City 41. They give the ball to Henry. He gets a couple of yards. All right. You need probably 4 or 5 more yards for a pretty realistic field goal. 2nd down, they throw the ball down the right sideline. Could have been caught, jump ball. Had it been caught, it would have been 1st and goal. 3rd down, quarterback gets sacked. They're out of field goal range. To me, based on the way they had gotten the ball down the field on that drive in the middle towards the back part of the fourth quarter, I thought that play call on 2nd down for a team that had not been able to throw the football all day, and then they were trying to throw the ball on 3rd down, they got sacked. I didn't understand that play call when you need 5 yards there.
I listen, Malik Willis is a talented guy. We know that. Malik Willis has no business being a starting quarterback in the league right now.
No.
He just doesn't. None. But that's what they're dialed. I mean, with Tannehill, they're different. He may make those. I mean, the screen game to Derrick Henry. Listen, the ball would have touched Derrick Henry's hand some way, somehow, 3 straight times.
That's right.
For me. Now, if Tannehill's in the game, I can, flash some play action in and a little check down for 5 or 6 yards, let somebody run after the catch. I'm not taking low percentage shots or dropping a quarterback back right now who doesn't understand protections, and rightfully so, because he's a rookie and hasn't seen much. I get it. So why a coach's job is to fucking put them in the best position to be successful.
That's right.
And especially a rookie, I promise you, I can tell you what he's going through, swimming, thinking, you get to a point where you're like, damn, give me something simple. I'm not ready for all this, because then you got a direct protection, and is it blocked up, and you take a sack, and you're trying to be a hero. And I understand his position, meaning Malik Willis's. You got the best running back or the biggest monster on the field and maybe on the planet when it comes to football. Live with what you give us a row to paddle. Shit. Well, I didn't know what Downing was doing, and put himself in a position to,
a field goal wins the game there, Sean.
Right.
A field goal is going to win the game there. 2-possession game.
With a 5 for 16 quarterback and not being able to throw it at all, and you got your best player rush for over 100, and Mahomes rushes for 63, throws for 400 plus, and had to throw damn near 70 times to beat them. Yeah. And here you are. So I personally am living with my best football player or a little more high percentage. Don't put the kid in those positions. He's going to be fine one day. Right now he's not. The fact that they were able to win one and hang in with Kansas City either tells you something about Kansas City or tells you something about the Titans. I thought the play calling was wrong, and I would not have done that. Plus, when Todd Downing's the coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, I think Downing's the coordinator.
That's correct.
It is. They don't have any perimeter receivers. I don't even know if they had a catch. I'm sitting here thinking that the 5 receptions, I don't know completions. No. I don't know if they had a catch. So you don't have A.J. Brown there. So if screen game, I don't care how you do it. Get it in the big fella's hands and I'm going to can he get me 8 yards or put me in position where I forced to go for it on 4.5 yard where I need it so I get in field goal range? Whatever. I don't like it, man. And I sure don't like it when there's a rookie quarterback who's swimming, wondering what the hell's going on. I thought it was a bad approach down the stretch.
You want to talk about a bad approach? Let's talk about the fucking Rams defense. 44 seconds left. All right. Brady throws the first ball down the middle of the field. All right. It stops the clock. Then the Rams are playing 15 yards fucking off the line of scrimmage on wide receivers. It's pitch and catch to the sideline, pitch and catch to the sideline, pitch and catch to the sideline. Then you get a pass interference call and you got the ball on the 1 yard line. But what kind of defense is that, Sean? I don't understand that. I do not understand these defensive coordinators and their strategy in that situation, giving chunks of yardage. Why give up chunks of yardage to the sideline when you have no timeouts left? I mean, I don't get that.
They coach scared, Grant. It's the truth. I see it a million times. That's not what kept Tom Brady out of the end zone the whole time, being aggressive and forcing them, and you may have got a sack.
Yeah,
you can't give him that. You can't give him a free go. This isn't some who shot John operation where Brady doesn't know what he's doing. First off, they should have scored the other time, and they screwed themselves up down in the red zone where they couldn't get it in. And then the Rams defense stood up, and then all of a sudden you get the ball, and you instead of listen. I don't mind conservative, but I'm not giving Brady another shot. I thought their approach to getting a first down was weak as well on the offensive side. I understand conservative. You don't want an incompletion, but there's ways to get – hell, once again, they threw it to Kupp the one time. I'd just get Cooper Kupp the ball any way I could 3 straight times, see if he can get 10 yards.
Right.
But he slides down. They don't get a first down. They punt it away. And then you give Brady all that time. At some point in time, Brady's offense is going to kick in for a minute or for a couple games or for the rest of the season. And it may very well be the reason. Rams are done. Packers are done. I thought it was putrid giving them that kind of cushion to give Brady a chance down the red zone. You damn well knew when they got the pass interference call, they were scoring. They were scoring and going to win the game. Left him too much time. I thought it was a play not to lose approach. And in the process, the Rams won't sniff January the way it's going. They're not that good. Yep. And they're not physical, even though their defense played good most of the game. Wrong timing award, and I don't know why people play scared late in a football game. I've never understood it.
Sean, do you ever think you could watch a football game where Aaron Rodgers looked lost?
One of the worst decision games and throwing games I've seen him play. I didn't even look at the final numbers. I watched the whole game, Grant. And listen, you know my affinity for Rodgers as a player. I think he's phenomenal. But I watched that game, and, he's frustrated with receivers and the way they're playing. I got to tell you, he was the main reason they lost the game. I'm just telling you. When I say main reason, it's a team effort, but I watched him miss a tip ball down in the end zone because he didn't put it the right guy that was picked. I saw him throw another one to Bakhtiari that he underthrew it by 4 yards, standing wide open with the tackle eligible. Then I watched him throw a deep ball that's 3 yards underthrown. If he throws it out in front like he normally does, guy waltzes in for a 50-yard touchdown or whatever it was. And then I watch him on a little bender seam route throw the ball and let a guy undercut it because he's late with the football that gets picked inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, and he was off. I understand what he's meant. I'm talking about just compartmentalize this year and yesterday. Aaron Rodgers looked – if you didn't know he was Aaron Rodgers, you'd have said, damn, this dude's got a long way to go. He is – underthrowing things, late with balls, throwing off balance. Normally the off balance throws work for him. It did not. That's another team. You could stick a fork in them. They're not very good.
They're done.
And when their best football player played like just a guy, all ain't well. Aaron was a lot of the reason. He missed 4, 5, 6 throws that were blatant open throws that he just either got casual on, didn't fire his lower half, and you saw the result. And a lot of that falls on his shoulders, which I'm sure he'll shoulder. But all the finger pointing and the frustration he's had, he got to point that thumb back at himself because it was a rough go of it yesterday.
Is this the equivalent of maybe a major league hitter not seeing the ball well? I mean, take me there. You've played. I haven't. How does a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers play so poorly, look so lost? Was it you talked about the lower half? Is this mechanical? Is it up here in the head? Is he just so down on his team right now, or is it a combination of these things?
Grant, I think, and you can apply it to baseball. Think about, first of all, I normally you could say, okay, let me look at the mechanics. But with him, his mechanics, he's always gotten by throwing off 2 feet off the ground, throwing stuff, but he's always had playmakers. It says 2 things to me just watching his entire year this year. One, like I've said before, it used to be in the past, I always felt like he had a secret on it, I mean, that he was going to get you. I feel like it's the other way around, that he's not sure he can get you now. And secondly, think about a hitter, Grant, who is so selective at the plate, and when you throw him a fastball, he is going to destroy it, right? You just know you can't miss there. And when Rodgers is going good, if you give him a window the size of a coffee can, it'll go good. Now, the opposite is true. You're struggling. You couldn't hit the ball if it was sitting on a tee because you're squeezing the dust out of the back. With him, you grip it a little harder. What happens, too, is the frustration of what's gone on skews your decision-making. And remember that when you're going through this, what happens, you press and the frustration. And before you know it, you're trying to play catch-up all the time, and your decisions of frustration. I always tell quarterbacks, get over good plays and bad plays equally as quick. It didn't look to me like Aaron Rodgers has gotten over a bad season, and it almost felt like he took it into the game and expects that we're not good enough to overcome bad plays, and in the process, they keep making more of them. I'd have to look deeper into it. I'm not worried about his mechanics because he's always been just a guy who can throw from every angle. But I can tell you this, that it looked awfully casual yesterday. Relaxed is good. Casual's not good when it comes to playing that position.
All right. I'm trying to figure out Jeff Saturday, the interim head coach of the Colts, who's never been a coach in the National Football League. Is this a PR stunt? What the hell is this, Sean?
I love Jeff Saturday, and he's a really smart football guy, Grant. You know that. That doesn't take away from what he's done on the field and what he means. This is an Irsay move. You don't do this unless it's a guy you dislike and you're reaching. I think what he's doing, he's scrambling around to try and find leadership, Grant. I do. I'm at this stage, it's not about tasks and X's and O's. You leave that to your assistants. If you can find assistants that you trust to call them while they're out there. Saturday's being brought in to get this team to start to try and believe in what they're doing. First of all, Foles should be playing. There's no reason why Sam Ellinger's playing. There is no. He's not ready to play either. He's too young, hadn't taken enough snaps. Foles been a Super Bowl MVP. I don't get why he's not playing in place of Matt Ryan. But I think this is simply a PR or feel good for the fans. Former, captain type player who's a hell of a player. A week ago, he's on ESPN talking sports a few days ago, and now he's the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. This is not we got the best guy for the job, and Jeff may very well be great, and I'm rooting for him. But it is unconventional to say the least. But this is simply, can you calm the room and find leadership? The tasks are going to have to just deal with them one at a time. He's got to find buy-in from the players, and his initial speech, whatever that was today or whatever it's going to be tomorrow, he has got to find a way to get these guys to grip it, honestly, to find a way. And when he says it, he's got to live by it, because you will lose a locker room quicker than anything. If it was a PR stunt, you got to prove to them that you're worthy of the gig. Jeff's smart, but leadership's going to be the key here.
Shit, Sean, you still have an opportunity to coach in the National Football League, man. Hey,
and listen, if they're hiring guys who haven't coached in it, shit, call me. I'm in. I do know that position. I can promise you this. I can coach you to shitty stuff if that's what you're looking for. I've seen that in Las Vegas and in Green Bay. I can get you to 3 wins in nine games. But I tell you what, I might be able to get you an extra win and call some plays and actually grow a set of balls that dangle down so you can actually have a chance. So I think Jeff will be fine in the leadership category. The question is, I don't know how people are going to respond to this, because you don't want anybody to make a mockery of it. But Jeff knows football. We'll see how quickly he can get those guys to buy in the building.
All right. Here's an interesting question. Should the Raiders have hired Jim Harbaugh? Well, I don't know if Jim Harbaugh wanted the job, but I'll tell you right now, Josh McDaniels, I mean, this looks like Denver all over again for him, Sean.
It's pathetic. It is. It's pathetic. This has become Groundhog Day talking about him and what the Raiders are doing.
Yep.
How did they get so bad? How did this happen? Can you explain? How did it happen? I don't know. I mean, it literally happened in a hurry. So whatever the answer is it X's and O's in leadership? Listen, his leadership skills and the way he approaches people in the past has been questioned in the building, as far as, the Belichick style and bringing it. And maybe Bill has those guys under such wraps, meaning he controls everything in New England, that when they go out, it's such a foreign thing to them. They just don't know quite how to do it, and they all want the same power. But Josh McDaniels has got a long way to go. I'm going to tell you, Grant, this keeps up. You may wake up one morning and this guy, he may be one and done. If not, Mark Davis will pull it. He will pull it quick if he doesn't think that the leadership's right. Whether he makes the right decision or wrong decision, we'll see. but the Raiders have gotten worse, and I don't understand why.
All right, here's a question. Brian Flores was right. If you're talking about the hire in Indianapolis, just remember that Tony Dungy was the head coach of the Colts for many years with that ownership group. All right. I watched the Minnesota Vikings play, and I know they only have one loss. I get the fact they're going to win the division, but every single game they play is up for grabs in the fourth quarter. And I understand the name of the game is to win, but I'm just not that impressed with them. Am I not seeing something right?
Grant, is it because your history with, I mean, not your history, but the history
Yes.
of the Vikings and Kirk
Yes.
Cousins? It is,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's the cumulative effect. You don't trust you figure at some point in time they're going to screw the pooch, right?
Yep.
I get it. Trust me. Every time I watch, let me flip it on you. Maybe Kevin O'Connell knows something. Maybe he's a little bit different with the leadership. Maybe Cousins has gotten so locked in that he's going to protect the football that he will make those 3 or 4 throws in a single elimination game. They're loaded with skill set, and look what they went out and got the tight end. Look what he did this past weekend. Leaned on him as a crutch. He had a really big game. Grant, I'm with you. I keep sitting here waiting, thinking, okay, come on, quit bullshitting me. This ain't going to happen, right? And maybe we're to the point I'm trying to get out and compartmentalize this season as opposed to the history of the past. But coaching does matter. We've seen it with Dable. We see it with Solomon. Maybe Kevin O'Connell's the guy who got Kirk Cousins to get to another level and for this team to believe that it is the best team in the division. I'm with you that I'm waiting for something's going to happen, yet the opposite is true, Grant. What about this? What about the fact that instead of what they've done in the past and lose those games, they're winning them now? Last year, they were in those same way and lost them. What about this time around? Maybe the culture's changed where they actually believe that they're going to win. I actually think they're the third best team in the NFC. I think it's Philadelphia and then Dallas and Minnesota, the 2 next teams. And keep an eye on the San Francisco 49ers, who are not going to go away now. I can assure you of that.
Really appreciate the support there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your support. And you know what? I'm glad that you have found this right here. Appreciate the support. All right. Could you make an argument for Geno Smith being the most valuable player in the National Football League?
I can. Comeback player of the year, most valuable player. And the last half's going to have it because stats maybe, you look at Jalen Hurts and what he's done in Philadelphia. You look at some of the numbers that Mahomes and Allen are going to put up. But if you're just talking about what he's done and how he's turned it around, the Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, they've been phenomenal. And, you sit there and say, okay, come on, man, this guy's supposed to be a backup and a spot starter in the league, right? This isn't going to continue. Once again, sometimes a change of attitude or having to work your ass off for so long pays off late and not early in your career. And maybe, just maybe, Geno Smith has found I'll tell you what found the right place. I'll tell you what he's doing, Grant. He is saving them a first-round draft pick next year.
Great point.
At quarterback to build somewhere else if this continues. He is going to make it very difficult for them to say, let's go on. Number one, they're not going to be in position if this keeps up to draft in the top 10. Secondly, they are making a great, great point. And he is to say, screw this. The glove was on the mound. I came out and picked it up, and I'm going to keep this, and we're going to use the first-round pick or two somewhere else because they got those. Look at this. They got all those assets from Denver after you gave up assets to get Jamal Adams, and now you got him. Geno Smith may be solidifying a new contract in a long career and preventing you from having to give up a number 1 pick to go get a quarterback next year.
I'm going to tell you what this reminds me of. I'm going to take you back to your Raiders. I'm going to take you back to Rich Gannon, who was a journeyman quarterback, although I think at this point in the career, I would have put Gannon ahead of Smith in terms of achievement, but not by much. But a journeyman quarterback, Rich Gannon goes to the Raiders, becomes the MVP, and leads them to a pair of AFC title games. One they won, one they lost, obviously lost in a Super Bowl to Tampa. This is kind of a Rich Gannon feel to me.
It is, Grant. That's such a good point. Rich, who's a dear friend and was a teammate of mine for quite some time in Minnesota.
The best.
Yeah, and listen, I watched Rich not only do that, transform his game. When Rich was in Minnesota, when we were there together, eyes in the back of his head. Remember when New England drafted him and traded him, they wanted to make him a running back or a different position when he left Delaware. And Bob Schnelker and the group in Minnesota said, no, this guy's a quarterback. And he was a guy who could, look at the guys you got now. Rich was ahead of time. Rich had great feet, and he could throw from different arm angles. But Rich relied more on talent at that point in time. And I watched him transform. Then they traded him to Washington, and he had shoulder surgery, and people didn't know what his career was going to be like. And then Kansas City picked him up to be a backup.
Yep.
And the truth is, if you want to know the truth, he was better than Elvis Gerbach. He should have been playing with Paul Hackett in Kansas City. But he became not that he was always smart, but he was, case in point, a young guy with all that talent. It was like, I got to cry. I can beat you with my feet and he was an accurate thrower always. And a competitive son of a bitch too now.
And a professional, consummate professional.
Hell yes.
Right.
I love Rich, and I couldn't have been happier.
I do too. I love the guy.
He goes to Kansas City and really plays great. And the truth is, had they have played him instead of Gerbach, no disrespect to Elvis, it might have been a different result. I think wasn't that Marty's fort? I mean, they won a bunch of games and they were really good. And they played Elvis, they got beat regardless. And Elvis was a good player. He goes to the Raiders, and then Rich became a pocket guy who could move a little bit, but threw on time, accurate, was beating Gruden to the building, the studying the game plan and help putting the game plan in. And bingo, you get the MVP, accurate. Rich was really good with us. He was really good in Kansas City. He was friggin' great in the Raiders. A perfect example of a guy who recognized those strengths and weaknesses at different points of his career. And if he had a weakness somewhere, he fixed it. I think it was one of the great transformations. And Rich was talented, but the way he went from a scrambling guy to a beat you from the pocket and brilliant the way his mind worked, that's a great comparison. Different types of players.
Correct.
The rejuvenation of their career, you're damn right it is.
I did the Raiders during that era, their preseason games on TV for 5 years, and I got to know Rich pretty well. And the one thing that always struck me was he was a no-nonsense type of a guy. You know, he was about his job. He was a leader. Man, what a leader he was. And the guys, you could just see respected how he went about his job. And, you know, in Napa and training camp, guys were leaving. As soon as, practice was done, they were going out to wineries and stuff. And I can tell that irked Rich because Rich was all about business. Rich was all about just, you know what I mean?
Oh, do I? Hell, and like I said, competitive. He and Wade Wilson and I used to play golf together. We had great times. And Rich and competitive. Listen, he wanted to cut your heart out and feed it to you. He just did. And then he started transferring. You're right. He gets to the Raiders too. And the reason why he could demand it from other players and they respected him is because he didn't ask you to do anything he wasn't willing to do. I remember I went and did a feature on him when I was at ESPN. We sat and talked. You can ask people to do stuff when you're in there early and studying. And Rich had, and I mean this affectionately, and I do, because I think all great leaders got a little bit of prick to them. You know what I'm saying, Grant? That they're going to hold you fucking accountable.
Yep.
And Rich held his teammates accountable, and they raised their game because he raised his game. And mentally, they were sharp as could be, and he deserved the most valuable player in his Pro Bowls. Rich was phenomenal, and it was a tribute to him because he was able to get guys to follow him because he knew how to lead. But you're exactly right. Rich could have fun small talk away from football, but when he was in the building, it wasn't bullshit. It reminds me, had that attitude like a little bit of Aikman in him too, where it was like, dude, we're here. The goal is to win. And I don't really care if you like me or not.
That's right.
That was Rich. And I had nothing but respect for my man, Rich Gannon.
All right. Final thing. This question here. Would you keep Derek Carr moving forward with the Raiders?
I'm going to see how the season ends.
Okay.
I am. I'm going to see how the season ends. And we know how this goes, Grant. Usually the coach leaves when they're struggling. Coach goes, quarterback stays. Sometimes both go. Sometimes both stay. We're going to find out because right now it'd be an easy time for them to quit. If I'm judging as an owner, a front office guy, or a head coach and vice versa, I'm evaluating every friggin' thing you do. If you're a teammate and you decide to check out early on me, fuck you. Take your golf clubs. I don't need you back next year. I don't care where you were drafted. I'm going to find out a lot about the Raiders and their character and what Josh McDaniels, talk about accountability, what he holds them to the last half of the season. I have a hunch that Derek Carr's competing his ass off, but it's not working for the whole group right now. Yeah. We'll see if that might, because I know he can play. I just can't believe how far that offense has fallen considering the weapons they have.
Sean, appreciate the hell out of you, buddy. I'll see you right back here on Friday.
Look forward to it, brother. Thank you very much.
You're the best. Sean Salisbury, good stuff right there. We're going to talk Kings basketball coming up in just a moment, but I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by New Works Plumbing of Sacramento. Locally owned for over 20 years, New Works has a fix for you. For your plumbing needs and repairs, just go to sacserviceplumbing.com. That's sacserviceplumbing.com, or call the number on your screen. Kings and Warriors tonight. Ryan in Sacktown, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How you doing today, Grant?
I'm doing good, man. Let's talk some Kings basketball. The end of a 4-game trip. It's already been a successful trip in terms of the record. I did a rant on this morning. I don't really see any difference between this year's team and past teams, although the sample size is kind of minimal, only 8 games. I think Fox is clearly playing at the highest level of his career, but I just see an inconsistent team, Ryan, a team that can go from looking pathetic in one half to really good in the next half, still allowing too many points. What's your take on that?
Yeah, Grant, I think that's a pretty good take. They are similar, but it feels like they're more talented. They've just not gelled together at this point. They're individually skilled. I would say that we do not. I watched some of the film after the game. We don't have a defensive leader. There's not a leader on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, I was looking at some of the pick and rolls that Orlando was running, and at one time we had 3 Kings around one guy that wasn't even a threat. We were double teaming Bull. We're not talking on defense, and they need somebody like that to pick it up.
All right, tonight, the Golden State Warriors. Hard to believe that the Warriors are behind the Kings in the standings. They have lost 5 in a row. I'd be shocked, Ryan. I would be shocked if we don't see the A version of the Golden State Warriors tonight. The question is, which version of the Kings will we see? Now, the other part of this is the Warriors have lost 5 games in a row for a reason. All right, they've lost 5 games in a row because they are playing horrible basketball. So I'm really curious to see which Warriors team is going to be on the court tonight. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, Ryan, if the Kings can put together a consistent 48 minutes.
That's all I'm looking for, Grant, because if they can, I mean, you look at the box score from the game against Orlando, they held Orlando to 12 points in the third quarter, but then every other quarter it's 30s. Yeah, I think this is, and we talked about this on Friday, this is going to be a get-right game for Golden State. I mean, you can't count out Curry. You can't count out Thompson and Draymond. They're going to come home. They got extended rest. They sat the last game of their road trip. So I will be very encouraged if the Kings play up to their level, but I don't have high expectations for tonight's game.
Yeah, and then the Kings go home and play Cleveland, and they look like as good as any team in the NBA. But the one thing that I want to see the Kings do, they got to get off to better starts. I mean, their first halves have been killing them on this trip. You know, and speaking of the first half, you remember just 2 weeks ago, Ryan, the Kings gave up 89 points to the Warriors in the first half. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, 89. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is that Klay Thompson, was it 38-point quarter that he had? You and Jerry called
37 points.
37 points. Yeah, 89 is just a ridiculous number. I guess against the Golden State Warriors, it makes you feel a little bit better because they are probably the best shooting team in the history of the league. But yeah, they've got to get off to better starts, and that's just spreading the ball around and, running the offense and defensive end, get out, play aggressive. I'd like to see in game 1 against Portland, they broke out that little trap. I'd like to see them break that out again, that full court, just a little bit and then back off just to kind of see how the Warriors react to that. But consistency is going to be the king key for them tonight.
Can Draymond and Looney handle Sabonis? They can. I think Sabonis has picked up his game a little bit. I'm very happy to see that. I mean, they need Sabonis being very consistent. Again, the issue with him has been staying out of foul trouble because of what they're asking him to do defensively, which was part of what you were saying with defensive leadership. And, again, he's being put in a difficult position on that end of the floor.
He absolutely is, Grant. He's undersized for some of the guys that he's guarding. And, he's coming over and he's helping. He's coming across the lane. He's coming from behind. And for a big guy, don't get me wrong, Sabonis is very athletic. It's hard to stay up and down. And the definition of up and down in the NBA changes from day to day at times. But, I was very encouraged by the way he played. The one thing that I was a little bit worried about was that he had more assists than De'Aaron Fox against Orlando. So it's encouraging that he's spreading the ball because I think he should be playing a little bit more towards the high key. But it all goes back to keeping Sabonis out of foul trouble is making sure that you are not giving straight line drives to the basket where he is going to have to come help or find a way to have another person come help rather than have Sabonis be the drop back guy.
All right. I want to let everybody know that I am going to be doing a post-game show right here on YouTube after the game tonight with the Kings and the Warriors, so you can tune in following the game. All right. So Sacramento, 3 up and 5 down. Again, I'm going to say this is a winnable game because I have to, Ryan. I mean, the Warriors look lost right now. I know their talent is really good, but there's something wrong. And we'll not include the last game because they didn't play Curry, they didn't play Thompson, they didn't play Green against New Orleans. So let's throw that game out.
Sure.
This Warriors team, they are completely out of sync. And so we have to, because that's what we have to do if we're going to talk about this. Could the incident that we saw in the preseason with Jordan Poole, with Draymond Green sucker punching him, could that have anything to do with what we're watching right now?
Oh, that's a great question, Grant. It's possible. Anything is possible. That team has been together for a long time, so things happen. Let's put it that way. This was a little bit more public because there was video of it that was released.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think, there could be that fracture where you see Draymond coming out a lot more. He's talking about his second career 2.0, I want to call it, already. And, that may leave a sour taste in his teammates' mouth on top of punching Poole basically for no reason, because Poole seems to be very well liked in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So it could, absolutely.
All right. Well, it is going to be an interesting game tonight for Sacramento. They wrap up their 4-game trip. And boy, I'm looking at the West. And how about the Utah Jazz? I think most people are waiting for them to kind of like hit reality. I don't think they're going to hit reality. I'm not saying they're going to win at this pace, but I mean, think about the wins they've already had this season. That's damn impressive what they've done. Something else I wanted to talk to you about. The Portland Trailblazers are also a team that we're waiting to fall. They went in and beat Phoenix the other night in that first game. You thought that the non-travel call was bad on Tyler Hero. Portland made a game-winning shot, all right, a game-winning basket against Phoenix, and I forget the player off the top of my head. He didn't take 4 steps like Tyler Hero did. He took 5 steps. 5 steps. And they made a non-call. The league comes out the next day and says it should have been a travel. You think? 5 steps. It's ridiculous. Rhino, how the hell can the refs miss calls like this at the end of games?
I think they're scared to make calls at the end of the games, especially with teams that are playing well. It depends on how the game's reffed, obviously. But actually, no, I take that back. It doesn't depend on how the game's reffed. That's a straight call. We're not talking about personal fouls, slaps on the arms, traveling. Double dribble. Those are straightforward. So it shouldn't happen. It's something, Grant, that maybe they need to look at in the offseason and say, how do we combat this? Do we make this reviewable if there was not a whistle blown? But they kind of swallowed their whistles at the ends of the games. I mean, Grant, how many times have you seen it throughout your career where there's definitely a foul or there's definitely...
Yeah, no, you're right. Sea-Dog, thanks for that. It was Jeremy Grant. And again, so the ball goes to Grant, who is fading away as he catches the ball on the baseline and honestly takes 5 steps. I mean, it was a much more noticeable travel call than Tyler Hero. At first glance in real action, you could be watching Tyler Hero and not see that he moved his pivot foot and shot. I get that. Right. This one was blatant. I mean, and I'm not saying Tyler Hero's wasn't, but this was absolutely brutal. But it is what it is. Again, we got a text in a moment ago saying that, relax, that Utah and Portland are going to come back down to earth. I don't know why you would be saying that. Well, based on what? I don't necessarily agree with that. I've been waiting. I've been watching. They look like damn good teams right now to me.
They look like great teams. And in Utah's case, they're stacked picks too, right?
Oh, boy.
This is kind of like the Boston rebuild. Real quick, going back to the traveling, obviously it doesn't apply here with Jeremy Grant, but the Euro step has made things very confusing. Because there's so many times with the Euro step, it's like, hey, he just traveled. But then you take a second look and he didn't. So I think it's really, really hard to ref that. But the end of the game calls.
Well, this was not a Euro step. This was a guy that was off balance. who took 5 steps. But your point is James Harden was famous for that, right? We talked about that all the time. And so, all right. Hey, listen, buddy, great job. We're looking forward to Listen App coming up here in, 13 minutes. So I'm going to get ready to do that show. And we'll talk to you Wednesday. Jerry Reynolds will be on with us on Wednesday.
Yes, he will.
So looking forward to that at 3:00 right here. And then I'll be on after the game tonight with the Kings and the Warriors. Ryan, you're the best, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Grant. And by the way, 5 steps isn't even allowed in my son's league. He's a 7-year-old. So, all right. See you Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. Not even allowed in your son's league. All right. Again, join me right here on YouTube after the game. So figure we'll be coming on at about 9:30 Pacific. All right. About 9:30 Pacific, I will be right here on YouTube Live. I'll put the link out and everything so you all will be able to see it, and we'll have fun doing that. All right. Good job today, man. Really love having everybody on the stream. And my thanks to Sean Salisbury and Ryan in Sacktown. We'll be back tonight after the game and then Wednesday at 3:00 Pacific with Jerry Reynolds. You make it a fabulous day or should say a fabulous rest of the day. I'm going to be on Listen Up here in just a couple of minutes, so be sure and listen to that. And I'll see you tonight after the game. So long, everybody.